Welcome to the Dream 100 Show, the epicenter of influence, collaboration, and exponential growth. You're about to discover the power of relationships. Dream 100 relationships. And you're one relationship away from a totally different business and life. This is your host, Michael Tesner.
In today's episode of the Dream 100 Show, I'm going to talk about the best ways to waste $5, $10, $15, $20,000 or more. So I've had a lot of really interesting experiences over the last couple of weeks. And the experiences started when I wanted to do some work around our house. We've got a list a mile long of projects, and with the interest rates as they are and the way the economy is, as much as I'd rather go build this gigantic house somewhere and buy a bunch of land, the financially responsible thing to do would be to make some improvements to our house. And it's been a crazy process to get quotes from people, to get responses. And I started to dive a little bit deeper to the place where I secret shopped almost 300 different companies locally to Buffalo. At first, I went down this rabbit hole of kind of companies that promise they do home additions and home remodeling. And then I went down the rabbit hole of plumbing, electrical, outdoor patios, concrete, landscaping, painting, siding, even a company that makes custom mailboxes out of either real stone or stone veneer. They're absolutely beautiful. And what I realized is that most of these businesses, but I'm going to give you the counterpoint in just a minute, but most of them are literally just throwing money out the door. We'll start with the home show. So if any of you have ever done an event, it could be attending an industry event, an association, a local event in your community, you donating your products or services and then exhibiting at that event. Any of those types of events, it's almost the same thing everywhere. You've got different people that have a booth. People walk around, they fill out a business card or little thing, they put some information down, maybe you're giving them a tchotchke, and they keep walking. Now, that's the majority of the people, but then you've got the people that are going to walk up to you and say, hey, I really need this product or service. I really need it. And you're going to take their information, and then something happens. I started looking at the average cost to have a booth at the Buffalo Home Show. The average cost, without factoring in the booth design, labor, parking, food, you're having to hire, there's obviously all these extra ones, but the average cost was around $7,000. Not a small amount of money. And then when you factor in all that extra stuff, to me, it's at minimum $10,000. You have a larger booth and a larger setup, you're getting rigging involved, you're paying union workers. There's a trade show that we're looking at exhibiting at, and it will be probably on the low side $25,000, upwards of even potentially $50,000. But what I look at, and what I'm going to coach you on today, is the booth design is important. The booth selection, the picking the right events, that's all important, but none of it matters if on the back end your follow-up systems are not so dialed in that you are not going to miss a lead. Would you literally walk around your neighborhood with a stack of $100 bills and just throw them up in the air, let them leak out of your pocket, and then not even care? That's the exact same thing that many of you are doing day in and day out. The fortune is in the follow-up. So I took stock, and I always take a picture of the booth and then a business card of anyone that I want to do business with. I talked to probably 30 vendors. I took pictures of, I think, 7. Of the 7, one of them followed up. 1 out of 7. All the others got my information, but only 1 followed up. The other 6 I chased. Oh, yeah, I'll get back to you. And only 1 more of those ever did anything, getting anywhere close to resulting in a quote. And these weren't small $500 quotes. These are $30,000 patio structure, a $100,000 home addition that we'd love to do, like 20 grand worth of concrete. Like these aren't, I'm not buying a hot dog here. These are big projects. So I would argue, what is the point of you going to that event if you don't have all that stuff dialed in? So how do you get it dialed in? And what are some easy fixes? The first one is that I highly encourage you to hire professional people to attend your booth and to focus on setting appointments. The people that are the most successful from that event are able to convert you from having that conversation to let's set an appointment. There were probably 20 companies that were doing window installations. We wanted a quote for new windows. There was one that we did, I'll leave the company name out. Now I'll mention the company. The company was Anderson, but I then did some research afterwards and found out that they're typically pretty darn expensive. So I ended up canceling it. The process to cancel was a nightmare. They didn't make it easy. Are you sure you want to cancel? But when I looked at and observed what they were doing versus everyone else, I knew that the people that were there were professionals because there's certain words that people that are trained are going to use, and it's not just what brought you in today. They're trying to size up your problems. So tell me about the problems you have with your house, or well, that my windows are leaking. Well, is that, and then they're going to exacerbate the problem. Do you have high utility bills? Do you notice like a bunch of condensation? And like, is that kind of driving your wife crazy? Like they start to exacerbate. They know what they're doing. That particular booth hired professionals and they literally were closing appointments. They had at least 7 people, possibly even 10. It's a big investment on their part, but if the average project for them is $20,000, it's a good calculated investment. But most of the other vendors, even with the fancy things, well, the trade show is going to give you this thing to scan leads. What are you doing with the leads? What is your process? Now, rather than me just beating you up on this call, I'm going to give you another solution. To me, the best thing that you can do after the fact, so like when the event is over with, you have this ready to go beforehand, but after the show ends, you leverage an outsourced agency that's going to call all the leads for you and record all the calls, all of the results, all of the activity. You take it off of your plate onto someone else's. Off your plate onto someone else's. Now, why would I suggest this even if you have a salesperson in-house? If you've never tested an outside company, you don't have anything to compare with. You could say, well, my guy is going to outsell this company all day long. I'll give you a perfect example. We had a client that they were getting a bunch of leads, then they were saying these leads are not converting. I had my team start calling the leads on day one, literally day one, and they booked, I think, 5 or 6 appointments in like 2 hours. Total month prior, they booked 0 appointments. Our team booked 5 appointments in the first 2 hours. The owner thought that the salespeople were doing their job. Now, maybe they were making one call and then that was it, and then they were doing something else. So they were only focusing on the hot leads, for example. I love to engage an outside company to help when I have big events. And I make everything known that you're going to have to be on these leads like white on rice. And I'm getting all this stuff ready. I'm getting the script so they don't guess what our product or service is. We're giving them some coaching. We're doing this. We're getting all that ready so that you can go and shine. And in a perfect world, you've got some people that are helping you book those appointments. So it's not just you. If you've only got one person and you're talking to someone and people are walking by, they're not coming back to your booth. They're just not. You need a couple of bodies when you're doing bigger events, bigger shows, not just one person. Now, this also goes for all the other marketing that you're doing. There was a vendor that just flyered our neighborhood and probably a dozen others. Now that wasn't $5,000 or $10,000, maybe $1,000 or less. Factor in time, gas, that kind of stuff. Made a phone call, didn't hear anything back. Sent an email, didn't hear anything back. The importance of having some type of system in place cannot be discounted. There's literally no reason that you should be putting any marketing materials out, turning any ads on live, unless the back end is locked and loaded, ready to go. I've made the count that says, well, let's fill the top of that funnel. Let's get as many leads and then we'll sort out the back end. And I used to believe that was the case. However, now I'm starting to see 1-star reviews that people are leaving that are saying, I fill out a form, I didn't hear back for 3 weeks. Guess they're not interested. So people used to forgive that a little bit. Now they're getting ticked off when you're not calling or responding quickly. So what else can you do? So what I want to see you tackle is looking at all the front doors that you have and making sure that that's connected to some marketing automation tools and or a customer relationship management tool. Any phone numbers that are out there, your Google business listing if people are sending you messages there, your Facebook page, your Instagram page, website forms. Do an audit over the next week. Have anyone that you know secret shop these different items and see what happens. Now, it's easy if you know that you're the one that's going to be responding and you know they're doing it, so you're going to respond. So in a perfect world, you're expecting your staff to respond and you can start to see how bad it actually is. If you're nervous to call your phone number to see how your team is going to answer the phone, that's an issue. There's no point, again, in going to these expensive trade shows and events, going and exhibiting at all these different things, spending thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars if you do not have the systems and processes to handle leads. And when I say handle leads, it's not a one and done. There are companies, there are a few of them that I stop by. One of them I think is called Comfort Remodeling. They have a text message drip that sends me a message every single week. None of them have landed on me yet that I've wanted to respond and have someone come out, but I haven't unsubscribed yet. I haven't written back stop, so they're still staying top of mind. Most of the other people did not follow up. If you really want to see how to do it well, look at a large plumbing company or an HVAC company in your neighborhood. Call their phone, see how they answer. Call at 10 o'clock at night, see how they answer. Send a message on Facebook, comment on one of their ads, and see how fast they respond. Whether you like it or not, a lot of these companies are now owned by one big conglomerate, and it's typically private equity. But I can tell you that their systems are on point. We had an issue that we needed a plumber for yesterday. The place that we normally use, that I have a service contract, I called at 2 or 3 o'clock. They couldn't see me today, or yesterday. I said, I need someone today. They said, oh, we can't make it happen. I said, all right, great. I went to Google, found another plumbing company, called, they answered, they had a phone script. They went through the whole process. Their follow-up game was on point. Survey message already went out to me, texting me, someone's on their way. Those types of things that they're going above and beyond, but you can't even return a lead. Outsource it to someone else, whether hiremymom.com, that's a great place. You can go on Fiverr, you can go on Upwork, and you can find people that are overseas, but you have to watch the accents. That's another one of those things that people often, they want to talk to someone that sounds like them. So I want you to keep that in mind when you're hiring a company. But if you don't want to waste $5, $10, $15, $20,000 at an event or with some marketing, reverse engineer it and stress test it. What happens when a lead comes in here and there? We found the same thing. We had a leakage off of our website. One of the forms wasn't working. We're a marketing agency doing this all day, every day. Now, thankfully, we stress test every single month. But what if you didn't stress test? We had a client that said they didn't get any leads for 6 months before working with us. The form on their website was broken for 6 months. They were driving Google AdWords to the website. They said they invested about $50,000. They got some phone calls, but none of the forms came through. Dial this stuff in if you don't want to be leaking money. The fortune is in the follow-up. And to me, the best way to do it is you outsource it. You take it off of your plate onto someone else's, but you hold them accountable. They've got to give you the data, the stats, all of that great stuff. Stop leaking money, get out there, grow your business. Michael Tazzer signing off. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. I'll see you next week.